much the other side of the coin in that the photos are bad, right? They're low quality, they're non-professional. The listing title is atrocious. The listing description is abysmal. Like all the amenities they're missing. Like we brought on one property, this flagship one, and they didn't have pool listed as amenity. It was in the pictures, but like it wasn't listed. I'm like, oh my God, you guys are what? Like, what's going on here? I just like tearing my hair out at just the silliness.
So then being able to take a look at the listing optimizer and going through each of those. But, those are one of the things that, to have those conversations with your owners, if you're not the one that owns these things, to put it back on them so they understand these are the due diligences that you're doing to optimize their listing. That's why it's called the listing optimizer, right? And then, like he said, going through the title, going through the listing description, and it gives you everything in those suggestions. And then if you want to take it a step further.
Welcome to RevLabs by PriceLabs.
Well, we are live. Thank you all for joining us. Give us just a few moments, let people trickle in here, and then we will get started up with you. Really looking forward to today's podcast. And we will start up at about 1 minute after the hour once everybody gets situated in here. Well, welcome to another RevLabs by PriceLabs Masterclass. Today's episode is going to focus on how to fix listing visibility and conversion across large portfolios when you know that your pricing, your minimum stays, and all of that stuff is in line with the market. This masterclass, it's going to be recorded, so we will send this out to anybody that's signed up for it. You'll also be able to find it on YouTube. You can hear us on pretty much any platform that you've got. Now, we're going to save time at the end of this. That way we can have a quick little Q&A. So if you've got any questions, throw that in the Q&A area for us. I am excited today to be joined by Eric Adler. Eric's the founder and CEO of Silver Street Management. That's based in Jacksonville, Florida. And I'm also joined by Ryan Gibson. He's the CEO of GH Hospitality and Midwest Haven Escapes. Ryan is one of Ohio's premier property managers, and I am super, super pumped for this group today. I'm your host, Kyle Driskell. I'm a senior solutions consultant with PriceLabs. And quite frankly, I just get to be here to kind of get all this information out of these guys. So really looking forward to this today. Both of these guys bring really, really unique ideas and perspectives to our chat today. So with that, if you're listening to us, you know a little bit about PriceLabs. PriceLabs was the Darn Battleground Judges winner for 2025 and we're also the best supplier with Strive in 2025 as well. So currently price over 600,000 listings globally across 150 countries. And we've got a team that's completely global as well. Our headquarters is in Chicago. We've got a bunch of people there. Got people all over the place. Got them in the US, Brazil, India, pretty much anywhere you can think of. So you've got support 24/7. I am located in Knoxville, Tennessee. And with that, we're going to learn something about Eric and Ryan today. So if you don't mind, I'm going to start with you, Ryan. Why don't you do a brief little introduction and tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, appreciate it, Kyle.
Yeah.
Super excited to be here with everyone. I started GH 5 years ago. We started actually in the arbitrage during the good old COVID. And then we kind of moved into the profit share, more or less, if anyone understands that, just taking a management fee off of the bottom line. And then really focused the last 2 years on acquisitions, just in-house with our founders. And then really started driving, specifically what we found was our best way to approach, with our guest avatar, and what the market was calling for was, more luxury rentals that stand out and really differentiating ourselves. So we've kind of combined the acquisitions and profit share method across both of our companies and just been striving from there.
It's awesome. Great to have you, Ryan. Now, Eric, care to give us a little bit about yourself? And you can go ahead and tell everybody where you're located right now as well, if you want to.
Yeah, absolutely. So I also started this company or started doing this in Chicago. I was a management consultant and Navy pilot as a side hustle. And so I was rarely home through my own property on Airbnb. This was actually 10 years ago now this spring. Started listing it, was making money. I was like, this is kind of cool. Bought some commercial property in Jacksonville, shifted over there, started managing my own properties. I couldn't find a good property management company that I liked. So in that area, so I just started self-managing. About 2019, folks started approaching me saying, "Hey, look, can you manage my properties too?" I did that. Concurrently, I've done some real estate syndications. Technically, I own two companies in this space: Silver Street Management, which is the offshoot of Silver Street Capital, which does small real estate syndication, real estate private equity, culminating in launching the Raven Hotel in downtown Jacksonville. We opened our doors last month. It's a 13-unit apart hotel that used to be a funeral home, and we've started operating that. Guests love it. And actually, that's where I think I got the call to be on here, because I started using PriceLabs as the guest listing optimizer for that property with a decent amount of success. Just going through and like being very, very particular about all the little things other than pricing that have helped it become honestly a huge success at launch. We just been open. Our doors haven't just barely opened more than 30 days, and we've had a really, really successful start to that project. So that's kind of my story in a nutshell.
That's awesome. Well, guys, I'm really looking forward to this. And as you hinted at, Eric, we will be talking a little bit about PriceLabs Listing Optimizer today. I want to go in real quick and let's go ahead and take a look at our agenda today. So today we're really going to be talking about the quality of listings and how those impact your rankings and reviews. So we will be talking a little bit about the presentation and the merchandising online, but we're also going to hear from Ryan and Eric about some interesting ways that you can really increase the revenue by getting amenities added, having great conversations with your owners, and really just making sure that you're controlling the things that you can control. We're going to talk a little bit about how you can fix the things that actually influence your click-through rate and conversions. And overall, we're just going to have a great chat today. Again, we're going to throw a Q&A towards the end. Looking forward to that. So if you've got any questions, drop those in the Q&A for us. All right. So with PriceLabs, we analyzed 10,000 Airbnb listings, and we found that over 85% of those have issues that are hurting their revenue, meaning we're either talking they have visibility issues, or they have weak photos, they have incomplete descriptions, have some type of inconsistency in there. So knowing that this many properties that we analyzed have needs that we're trying to help get the visibility up for you. I want to ask you first, Ryan, what is your experience when it comes to those time periods where you are you know your pricing's good, you know the market, you know the minimum length of stay. How important do you find fixing the visibility issues and conversion?
Yeah, so I look at it in a couple different ways, and look, pricing's hard, and understanding it is hard. I think it's one of the most difficult things to understand because it isn't just pricing, right? So I look at it as it's like a value perception to our guest avatar and who you're marketing to, and wherever you're coming from, everyone has a different guest avatar, right? And we're truly not competitors to this space. So everyone's listing is different. Every competition's different, right? And we might still be marketing to the same person, but that listing to that specific person is going to bring in a different sense of value that they're actually looking for. So like when you think of like a listing that's hurting, right? You got visibility to conversion, right? And then I've added on like the value perception. So if your listings in that stage where, you're getting the high impressions and low bookings and stuff like that, there's a lot of different variables that go into play. So I think just reverse engineering that and looking at like, what are your amenities? What are you offering? What's that first picture look like? What's your title? Those are all key factors that are going to then allow those conversions to happen and then allow that visibility to keep attracting, those people that, pricing isn't going to matter. So I think that's just kind of my first thought when thinking about that off the bat here.
Yeah. What do you feel, Eric?
Yeah, so super important, and like Ryan said, the click through rate, getting them to actually look at the property and then actually booking it. Pricing helps a lot in the search queue, but in terms of getting it to the top of visibility. But it's one of the several things, right? Like we kind of mentioned, the listing title, which that's a big factor nowadays with the OTAs. The amenities, right? Like that's how guests filter and find your listing from a sea of other properties in the area. that you're competing against. The pictures, like absolutely critical, not just high quality pictures, which, for any large scale property manager should be a given, but what you're taking pictures of, the order of the pictures, because OTAs places significance on that. Doing a photo tour, right? Like this is something that a lot of PMSs don't automatically do. We found this with Guesty, who's our PMS. They don't automatically help us do the photo tour. We have to go in to say Airbnb, which like most folks is our biggest OTA, and manually do the photo tour, manually do some things within the OTA to help bump up our visibility. So I think that's one of the really important things as a property manager with over 100 keys is making sure that not only do we have pricing right, which I think should be a given. Like I'm a bit of a revenue management nerd, went to U Chicago for my MBA, so I love this kind of stuff. This is my bread and butter, but not just focusing on, are we priced appropriately? Is our booking pattern good, right? Are we getting a theoretically equal amount of weekday and weekend bookings, which is something I constantly look at, but also looking at the non-revenue related factors that help us end up getting a guest in the door, regardless of where demand is for the market.
Yeah. I think one thing that all three of us can kind of attest to is the way algorithms are playing into the ability to generate revenue now has become so, so important. 2021, all of the stuff right after COVID, you could have any type of property and just essentially get it booked up. People were looking for it. Now it's totally about differentiating yourself. So I want to ask, and I'll start with you, Eric. What would be something that would be an early signal for you that maybe pricing isn't the issue? Maybe it's not your minimum stays. What's something that you've observed that's like, hey, I need to go take a look outside of the box, so to speak?
Yep. So we do a weekly pricing call, me and two of my team members who are kind of my pricing gurus within Silver Street Management. And one thing we look at is we look at the properties that have a below market occupancy rate and an above market occupancy rate, right? And in terms of listing issues, typically it's the ones that have the below market occupancy, and that's our first red flag. Like I love PriceLabs. I call it our stoplight indicator in terms of 30, 60 days in the future, and we also look 15 days in the past. Those are our three metrics, and I generally like to see 15 days in the past. That should be green or blue or maybe yellow, and then in the future, I like to see kind of like yellow and red. That's what I like to see in terms of what, from my perspective, where we're doing well in the market should kind of look like a stoplight. And so that's, if it doesn't look like that, that's our first red flag that something's amiss. We then look at how its pricing compares to its peers. There are obviously other factors that tie in, like guest reviews. That's a big factor. But then if everything else looks good, then it's something else, right? Then it could be the listing title. It could be the photo quality. Usually not that, but oftentimes photo order. Maybe it's the listing description, right? That it's wonky, inconsistencies like you guys called out, which I love the pricing, the listing optimizer, because frankly, it's like, I mean, and I'll be honest, I'm an AI skeptic. I actually studied it briefly in college and I know the limitations, and frankly, they are a lot more than most people are trying to sell us, like AI everything. But I will say that despite being an AI skeptic, I do want to plug the listing optimizer as one of the best instances of AI I've run into, because it very, very quickly shows you, hey, look, this is what's going on. Because I know that, photos, guest reviews, pricing, those are the givens, but it's looking at the amenities, and it just gives you a list of these are the amenities that are not there. And I can quickly look at that, and it like bounces that against what it sees. Like it sees a picture of a pool. There's no pool here. Like that's an easy, quick win that is well worth the I would say the nominal amount you spend to analyze the listing with PriceLabs Listing Optimizer.
I love that. I think I need to just bring you into PriceLabs as a salesperson. Like that was glorious.
Right?
Now
I don't
Ryan,
even, I don't even know how to piggyback off of that. I think you hit it home, but I think there's
yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, apply kind of what he was saying with yours, because you lean more luxury, like the higher end types of properties. So obviously you have different signals that you're kind of looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah, just piggyback off what he's got. And while you're doing that, I'm going to try to pull up this listing optimizer real quick
Yeah, that
to
was well
show it.
said, Eric, actually. So I don't know how I piggyback off that. But yeah, I guess just depending on the market, I think is the biggest thing of how we diagnose things. Like for us, I really look at our booking window. And then what Eric was saying, that 30, 60, 90 days, understanding, what's below market and what's above the market, and being able to diagnose exactly what those are. So like for instance, in the Columbus market, we have like 11-day lead time. So like I'm going to look at like 15, 30, 70, right? And then be able to see what the market below and market above is, and then be able to go into like, I'm not just on this call to sell PriceLabs, but they truly are, one of the best in the industry. So then being able to take a look at the listing optimizer and going through each of those, yeah, it might be expensive, guys, but those are one of the things that, to have those conversations with your owners, if you're not the one that owns these things, to put it back on them so they understand these are the due diligences that you're doing to optimize their listing. That's why it's called the listing optimizer, right? And then, like he said, going through the title, going through the listing description, and it gives you everything in those suggestions. And then if you want to take it a step further, I'm a control freak in our business, so I handle PriceLabs and the pricing. That's just who I am. I love it. I love studying it. And then I just kind of plug and play with AI that's able to help me, take it a step further if there's certain variables in PriceLabs that they don't offer. But yeah, that I guess to piggyback really off of Eric is just understand your market and maybe even take it a step further with what your actual true booking window is. Because we're in Columbus, we're in Hocking Hills, we're in Indian Lake, in different suburbs, and those areas, right? Hocking Hills is an hour and a half from Columbus, so that booking window is going to be totally different than what Columbus is, and they're totally different markets. Columbus is, an urban market where people are coming, business travelers, sporting events. Hocking Hills is actually a vacation destination, which is top 10 in Forbes, believe it or not. So I think just really dialing in maybe that booking window to be able to understand the 30, 60, 90, the 15, 30, 45, and then being able to take what Eric said is, what are those below market doing and what are the above market doing, and then being able to utilize what PriceLabs does and what they're able to utilize and help you out through hashing out those variables.
Yeah, love it, Ryan. One of the main things out of this, it sounds like it's just an infomercial for Listing Optimizer. We've got the tool for you, but what the guys are hitting at is this is something that's super super important regardless. If you don't use Listing Optimizer, these principles should still be applied. Still go and look at your booking window and understand when your pricing should be right. Don't have to use Listing Optimizer by any stretch, but I am going to share my screen real quick and show you guys what Listing Optimizer looks like and how simple that we can use this in specifically when we have a really large portfolio. Going through and looking at every single thing and trying to identify every opportunity when you've got 100 listings is very, very difficult. You get more than 100 listings, becomes even more difficult. So as we can see right here, this is what Listing Optimizer looks like. Get an overall scorecard, but you get individual scorecards as well. And that calls out the opportunities for you. So we can see this person doesn't have any rankings, but they're listed as a C for review count, amenities, listing description. We're going to get into how you could use this to identify, hey, I need some new amenities. But just kind of as a brief overview, let's take a look at this insights. And what this kind of shows us is there's opportunities with the listing title. There's opportunities with our images. Basically, what this right here says, if you're watching the video, is hey, we love the pool, but you don't need the pool in your first 5 pictures from different angles. We just need it one time, get you your honey shot, and then let's move on to something else for somebody. So that helps you out there. Get description, and you can copy and paste this directly, all that good information. And then even if you don't want to use the automation side of this, you do want to be more hands-on, down at the very bottom over here, you've got your unique selling points and the target segment. So it tells you who you should be going after with your descriptions. For this particular property, target families with young children, target couples, and long-term renters. Here are your unique selling points. It's a resort style. You've got amenities there. It's secure, fully equipped family stays. So with that, I'm not going to share my screen anymore, but I did want to kind of show this so anybody watching the video can see it. Now,
Kyle, I think that's a good point on that bottom part there. I was talking about the guest avatar part is like not every listing is going to be geared towards the same person. So being different. So like finding, I give you an example, like we have golf simulators in some of our place or built-in playground stuff, but like I'm not putting a built-in playground in every single unit. So
exactly.
To your point, like utilizing the listing optimizer, because then you could go a step further with that, and you can actually see who your true competition is based off everything that you just went through there briefly. So it's a tool in a toolbox that actually takes you further.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you have any other like questions about Listing Optimizer, you can always reach out to us, support at pricelabs.co. But I do want to get away from just kind of being in the infomercial state now, and let's talk a little bit more about the stuff that you guys are doing. And taking Listing Optimizer out of it, how do you use how do you use your descriptions? How do you use the amenities lists and things like that to improve your revenue? Like once you identify that there's an opportunity somewhere, and what I'm kind of leading at is both of you guys are really good at getting new amenities and put in, differentiating yourself in the market. How are you going about, outside of using Listing Optimizer, how are you going about identifying those opportunities? And then like really, how did you get to where you're just so good at bringing in new amenities and differentiating yourself in the market? And I'll start with you, Ryan, and then we'll slide to Eric for that one.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. To be totally transparent, I used to use AirDNA, and then I've kind of just geared away from just understanding numbers, understanding the competition based off the bedroom bathroom count, and then really, again, speaking on behalf of Price Labs and what they have is, I think it's the Revenue Estimator Pro or something like that. And so then I kind of just put the address, or a similar address in the area to find out what the competition is doing. What do their pictures look like? What are their, going back to visibility, right? What does their amenities look like? What are they offering? Who's their guest avatar, right? And then that allows me to be, proactive and transparent with myself if I'm buying the property or our potential owners who are looking to come in and have those intentional conversations of saying, this is what we need to do with the property. We need to do this theme. We need to paint this wall, this color. We need to add this hot tub. We need to add a golf simulator, right? If you want to make this amount of money, right? And it all goes back to how I explain this to owners is like, what do you need out of this, right? Is it just, the cash flow? Is it just appreciation? Is it depreciation, right? So breaking down all those, and there's a lot more variables into it, and being able to have those intentional conversations. And then it's going back to what we talked about. I think it truly is just the amenity part and what you're offering. So to kind of hit that in a nutshell.
Oh, love it, Ryan. And Eric, how about you, man?
Yeah, so as my team knows and our clients know, I'm really big on pools, especially being operating in Florida. And then our secondary market is Annapolis, Maryland. Not quite as amenable to those, especially right now where it's like 10 degrees outside today. But um, most hosts know this that pools are typically the highest demanded guest amenity that there is. So one thing I've done because I have kind of two companies with the properties that I've syndicated with fellow partners and investors. I put together mathematical models to then project what our revenue will be post pool. I was able to convince some of our partners to add a pool in Annapolis, Maryland for kind of our flagship property there. This is the only property within 1 mile of the U.S. Naval Academy, which is my alma mater, and where most of our guests they're there to because their sons and daughters go there. That has a pool and a hot tub. So that property has just gone bonkers, especially with bookings for next summer. It's just gone through the roof. And using that kind of mathematical analysis, that helps a lot. And then on the flip side too, or not a flip side rather, but kind of projecting it out to other properties. One thing we're about to launch in Northeast Florida is a program where we pay upfront for new clients' pools. So I know we're going to get a return on investment. I know our clients are going to get return on investment. It's sort of like Ryan taking equity in some of his clients, properties, kind of similar model. But I say, look, I'm going to put my money up front. If you don't have a pool at your property, I will pay you, or I will pay for the pool up front, and then we will get our money back over time because I know it's going to be a win-win. I know you're going to make more money. I'm going to make more money. It makes sense. So that's something we're actually about to launch. We haven't quite launched it yet, but that's going to come out in the next month as a plan that we were able to basically pay for our clients' pools up front, which should help everybody make more money and have more successful short-term rentals.
That's awesome. And I'm so glad we were able to share that. And I hope somebody in the audience hears what you're saying and kind of takes that model and uses it as well. Now, let's play a little role play game. And we've got a couple of properties. We've brought in new amenities, and you've got to go through and you've got to hit that checkbox and everything like that in Airbnb. What do you do if you say you've got a hotel, but you don't show up with it? If it's just not visible, that's going to really, really hurt your ability to generate revenue. And that's one of those things that everybody, when you start scaling and you get over 100 listings, identifying those things is nearly impossible. So again, not trying to just sell Listing Optimizer with this, but prior to using Listing Optimizer, what would you guys kind of do to spot check and make sure that the amenities are selected are proper? How frequently did you do that? And then, like from my experience, we would do that about every quarter or so. But then also, how much time were you spending on that? And or was it something that was just kind of overlooked? And I'll start with you, Eric.
Yeah, so we're very fortunate. We have a 24/7 guest comms team, and typically the overnight shift is not that busy. So we have a program where we periodically audit our listings for various factors, such as the amenities, the listing description, the other things to note section, which we kind of use as our terms and conditions for the property to let guests know what to expect when they book a property with us, such as like we do guest screening and we inform them of that. So that's one thing we do that makes it easier. Is I have kind of lower cost folks. They're still amazing, of course, but in other locations other than the United States, and they're very, very capable. And they overnight they help us scan our properties and make sure we fix things that we're not supposed to have issues with the properties. With that being said, I will say that Listing Optimizer is kind of automating that, which is great. I'm a big fan of automation when it's good, and I think that just even adds another layer, another check and balance to making sure that your listing is optimized for guest bookings.
I love that, Eric. And Ryan, what were you kind of doing? We've had our relationship. I worked with you, going on 2 years now, I think. What were you doing 2 years ago when it came to optimizing your listings and making sure you were getting as much as you could out of those listings?
Yeah, I think it was a lot more intuitive in terms of personnel, in terms of me going through and trying to figure out, exactly what those problems were. We have a 24/7 customer support representative as well. They all have different roles. They all have different SOPs that are geared towards, whether it's customer service, listing optimization, going through reviews, yada, yada, right? So just being able to leverage those different tasks that, going through each listing, comparing it to the competition, now using AI, right, to change the verbiage, right, depending on the area, location, or the guest avatar that you're going after, to be able to change that. Now, again, going into now Listing Optimizer, I know you don't want us to keep talking about it, but it's there to be able to then take away some of those individuals that you're already paying for, and just makes things easy. So I think we're just leveraging other people to see exactly those different variables and how it played up against the competition and being able to change. And then now just, utilizing the tools that we have in our back pocket with, the PMSs that are connected to one another.
Now that you guys are using the tool and you're getting some out of it, have you found any improvement in your ability to communicate to your owners? Like whether that's an opportunity, hey, we need this amenity, or hey, this is what I'm doing to try to change things up. How have you kind of found that Listing Optimizer has been helping with that, Ryan?
Yeah, I think it's been a huge help. Love our owners to death. I think it's one of the talking points today, but I'll hold off on that. But I think it's an easier tool, and to be able to visually, I'm a visual kind of person. So again, like Eric knows this as well, and so does everyone else that are real estate investors. You have investors and you have the hospitality side, totally two different industries, in my opinion, right? So we got to be able to step into the real estate individuals who are these investors to be able to explain the reasons behind this, and like someone just telling them this, right? They trust and believe in you. That's why they're hiring property managers like us. But leveraging these tools that are, that are factual information than just hearing from Ryan or Eric or Kyle, is just it's game changing for us, and it's be able to leverage that and show them what's there and what's needed in order to do what they want us to do, or we just keep staying stagnant.
Love it. How about for you, Eric? How have you been able to utilize it to help with owner communication?
Yeah, so we've used it primarily on our new boutique hotel, the Raven, in downtown Jacksonville. And so we just launched our listings. We had 13 apartments that we needed, because it's an apart hotel, that we needed to optimize. It's in up and coming area. It's it was a former funeral home, like all these things that are kind of maybe. I mean, it depends on who your guest is. Obviously, guest avatar is important. Some people love funeral homes, but it's important to make sure that everything's going. We can possibly optimize as it. We got it done for this property in particular. So I was able to communicate to our investors, the limited partners in this project, all the improvements we're able to make, thanks in large part to listing optimizer to maximize revenue for this property, which we launched it late December, and that's typically not a great time to launch a property. And so we still able to get really good occupancy for our first full month of operations in January. And I think a large part of that is all the little tweaks we're able to make from listing optimizer, and it really helped us communicate all the positive results that we've experienced in our real first full month of operation, thanks to this really awesome tool.
That's awesome. My next question, I've got probably a little bit of a different perspective on it, just because I'm all over the place with PriceLabs with customers I talk to, whether they're a host, large property manager. But I see a lot of opportunities whenever I'm looking at people's comp sets, and not saying like that they need to refine their comp sets, but looking at pricing and saying, why is this person at this price point and not booked? What are you kind of seeing in the market? You're both in very distinct markets, but how often do you all come across properties that you're seeing and it's just like, if that person put 10 seconds of time into this property, oh my gosh, it could be great? Or how often do you all see that coming into your program where it's like, man, this property could have been at 75,000 last year, but they were only at 30, and now we're going to get them there. And I'll start with you, Eric, on that one, and then we'll slide over to Ryan and get his take as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we expanded into Annapolis, Maryland in 2022 because I had a buddy, who's another Navy pilot, who was like, I'm not happy with my property manager. I don't know what's going on. Can you help me out? And I was like, yeah, I did some research. Annapolis, Maryland has the same ADR as Maui. And I was like, this is a great market to expand into. We've since expanded to about a dozen listings under management. And very frankly, it's been awesome because this is a smaller market where, frankly, the existing PMs and hosts that we encountered, like, nothing was done right for a lot of properties that we bring into the portfolio. We've seen dramatic increases in top line revenue. Our first property, we brought them from $70,000 to $125,000 of revenue in our first year of operation. We got our kind of flagship property in the portfolio was mishandled by I'll call it one of the big three PMs, but God bless them, but who's been in the market, and we took them on and we've doubled their revenue, bringing it from like, it was 80,000 in first year, and we're projecting we just brought them on in summer of last year. We're projecting to hit almost 200,000 this year, and it's a combination. Yeah, so we've just it's like, I mean, it's kind of like fishing with dynamite. I'll be honest, in this market, because it's just it's just I've seen and it's a combination of things, right? It is the revenue management that is like probably 60 to 70% of the problem is just they don't know how to manage these properties properly. They just don't understand revenue management. It's not that complicated, but it's not that easy either. And you really need somebody for whom revenue management is their bread and butter, that they just love that stuff. Like, I'm a RM nerd and I just love pricing, but we also see just as much the other side of the coin, in that the photos are bad, right? They're low quality. They're non-professional. The listing title is atrocious. The listing description is abysmal. Like, the amenities, they're missing. Like, we brought on one property, this flagship one, and they didn't have pool listed as amenity. It was in the pictures, but like, it wasn't listed. I'm like, oh my God, you guys are what's going on here? I just like tearing my hair out at just the silliness. But so for us, it's kind of like, it's an easy win, and it's been pretty. And this is like the big OTAs, not the OTA, sorry, the big PMs, they should know what they're doing, but it's because, honestly, like, you just don't have that in-depth knowledge of A, pricing, and B, add that extra 5 to 10% in terms of optimizing your listing on top of the pricing that really maximizes your revenue and your net operating income as an owner.
I think you're hinting at something that's really important that we're discussing today, and that's how difficult it is to scale once you start hitting certain numbers and certain thresholds. And hopefully, what everybody takes from this is that PriceLabs is continuing to try to build out tools to make your life as easy as possible as you do scale and grow. Ryan, going back to you on the previous question, what's kind of your experience in the market, seeing opportunities, and then as you're acquiring new properties and bringing them into your portfolio? How frequently are you seeing that this is an opportunity, not just pricing?
Yeah, no, it's no more, I call it head to the pillow. There's more to that, even with hotels nowadays, we can say that they're a competitor of ours. They just don't have a head to the pillow. There's other amenities that they have, and they're starting to, scale out what that looks like. So we are technically kind of competing with them. So I think, to Eric's point, again, he hits it pretty home again. So it's kind of hard to piggyback off him. So kudos to him. But it is good that we're kind of in two different markets. So it's going to help out a lot of individuals who, are in the vacation destination and in these urban areas. But I think it's the quality. We used to manage almost 150 properties just here in Columbus. And we started, to be transparent. It was just the quality of being able to keep up. Property management companies, as a lot of you guys understand, it can be a profitable company, but also you got to understand, like when you go from 75 properties to 150, like, you can't just go and hire 10 people, right? You're not going to make any money in this industry, right? So you got to be very cautious of what you're doing. So to go back, to, what we do on the luxury side is, those people that we're bringing in is just getting them to understand, what the upside is of spending an additional 30, 40, 50 grand on furnishings that's going to allow them to still make back their money in a 2 to 3 to 4 5 year period, depending on what their goals are. So I think quality matters, and I think at scale it matters. And this might be off topic, but that's why we brought in housekeeping and maintenance and laundry, to have full control of the market and what we're doing. Now, is there still setbacks to it? Of course, just like any other business. But, we're able to have a full understanding of exactly what's going on in our business. And I think that's what separated us to allow us to scale, over the 100 properties and not have, too many issues compared to what we did just by doing the management and then outsourcing everything else.
Yeah. Now, going to get completely off topic here and switch it up just a little bit. Ryan, what's the best property that you've brought in the past year or so in terms of quality? Like, what's one of those things that makes it stand out, or maybe your favorite one you brought in? All the homeowners for you. Don't take any disrespect to this. I'm just trying to get some
Yeah.
information about what's a winning strategy for a new property coming on.
Obviously numbers, right? When you go to any owner, you want to make sure that their numbers make out, from gross revenue to their pity payments to our fees, and everything else that goes into it. Because there's a lot more fees than your typical long-term rental, but there's also a lot of upside to it, right? It's funny or not, it was actually a property that I own. It's called the Distillery out in Hocking Hills. And you guys can take this amenity all you want. Again, there's no competition here. It's the golf simulators for me right now. Anything I own, believe it or not, I put a golf simulator in it. And I spend 20 to 30,000. It's a Unicore with Golf Pro Max, high end. I'll never build one ever again myself. I'm now hiring it out to them because it's a complete disaster. If you don't get the measurements right, you don't get the framing right, you have to have your guys come back in and move the walls. I've done it on all four of them that I've done. But I think it's just, because I guess it's not even just the golf simulator aspect, it becomes a theater room. So it literally turns, if you don't want to play golf, it can become a theater room for the kids, while the family's back behind the bar, whatever you're building around it, right? And it's also an all-in-one game system if you add on to it. So baseball, soccer, into the screen. So I think that's been the biggest thing for us. And then just finding out other amenities that no one has, like a splash pad is one of those things that are up and coming for some of the places in the South. Even Hocking Hills is starting to do it. You see one or two. So that's kind of where we're at.
Awesome. I'm going to get to you, Eric, but now Kyle's got to come in and drop his little nugget as well. Let's build basketball courts and stop with the pickleball courts. Let's get back to basketball courts, guys.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say. Eric, how about for you? What's something that stood out to you, or like one of those properties that's come on? And it sounds like the Raven is right up there. I would love to learn a little bit about how the cemetery, or the sorry, you didn't say cemetery. Yeah, just describe it a little bit more, man.
Yeah. So it's it was one of the continually oldest continually operating funeral homes this in the state of Florida, which just stopped operations in 2019. Uh, the work was on the first floor. The family lived on the second floor. I had it registered on the National Park Service's list of historic places. It's in a neighborhood within downtown Jacksonville that used to be the Harlem of the South. Ray Charles lived a block away. Ma Rainey, Ella Fitzgerald, Louis Armstrong played in clubs that were like literally within walking distance of this property. And so we've kind of reimagined it as a boutique hotel with 13 apartments. That was actually chosen on purpose because we're kind of leaning into the darker aspects a little bit. That's why we also called it the Raven. Interesting fact too, we uncovered while we were going through literally the funeral records is we found that there's a famous African American female pilot named Bessie Coleman. Some of the audience might have heard of her, but tragically on April 30th, 1926, she was preparing for an air show in Jacksonville and she crashed and her body was actually prepared at this funeral home. So we named one of the rooms, one of the apartments after her called the Bessie. We have there's a Barbie, there's a Bessie Barbie. We have that here. We have wallpaper of her airplane. We actually have a model airplane hanging from the ceiling that she flew. And so really leaning into the history, whether it's her, whether it's, having apartments named after Ray Charles, Ella Fitzgerald, Ma Rainey, or even just we call it Sanctuary is our premier apartment. It's where the sanctuary, the former funeral home was. And it's stained glass windows. It's absolutely stunning. And of course, I made sure the pool was right next to the stained glass window. So in terms of Instagram ability, it's, through the roof. That's obviously my favorite because there's nothing like it. And I think in terms of marketing, we talked about guest avatars. That's what we're really focusing on for that property because my hypothesis is that a third of folks are going to be like, funeral home, I don't want anything to do with that. A third of folks are going to be like, yeah, funeral home, it's beautiful. It has a pool. It has a cool courtyard. It has on-site parking. We have all the things the guests need and washer dryers, kitchenettes. I'll book it, whatever. I don't really care. But then a third of folks are going to be like, I love ghost tours in St. Augustine. I love graveyard tours in Savannah. I love spooky things. I like getting scared at horror movies. I'm going to fly from Billings, Montana to Jacksonville, Florida to stay at the Raven because it's just such a unique, amazing, beautiful, cool property. So that's really obviously it's my baby. It took us almost 4 years to develop it, so a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in that. But it's just absolutely stunning. And if y'all are ever in Jacksonville, please drop me a line. Would love to host you there.
Absolutely. And I love that. And the reason that I asked those questions is because I knew what I would get out of your answers. I knew I would get that USP. I knew I would get like the full view and scope. Like essentially what both of you just did was went through and gave a great description, a great listing title, everything that you've got to do to build out a listing. But to do that 100, 150, 200, 500 times becomes super, super painful. That's where
Hmm.
Listing Optimizer steps in. Take your photos, build out your listing, use the listing optimizer to see if there's any hole in there for you. I do want to get to one more question before we hop into the Q&A time. And that's going to be like, now that some of the conversion stuff's working, now that we're getting bookings and the listings look really good, what benefits have you seen downstream? Like whether it's to your team or to you having extra time, what are some of those benefits that you've seen, Eric?
I mean, could always use more time. So for me, one of the things balancing two companies in terms of doing property management and development, I can say over the years, my team has matured. We have an amazing folks. There are three core markets, which in addition to Annapolis and Northeast Florida, we also have a small presence in Nashville. And so I can say that like we've been able to really kind of up the quality of our team members. And I can say unequivocally, our team is just outstanding. And because I can just get on a conversation like this for an hour and I know that they've got it, whether it's our US based folks or our overseas folks, like they're talking to guests, they are handling stuff. I'm actually right now this week I'm on GM comms, so I'm kind of supervising the supervisor, who's supervising the supervisor. But I know that I don't even need to look because they've got it right. And so because we've been able to build such a strong team, I can then focus more on the development side of the house, right? Like I can help tweak the Raven to make sure that everything is perfect for guests and absolutely optimized both for guest experience, revenue and internal costs, right? Or look at future opportunities, such as a couple that I'm looking at right now for larger scale, 100 plus key developments in Florida and elsewhere. And so that's really the benefit of optimization, automation, and AI is that allows me to then focus on like getting the right team, and then their time is they can spend less time doing things because automation has taken over, which means that our guests are happier, our owners are making more money, and they're happier too because they get to focus on the cool stuff as opposed to like the going in and updating amenities for every listing, which frankly is necessary but not really a ton of fun.
And how about for you, Ryan? How have you kind of seen, not even just with listing optimizer, AI tools, dynamic pricing getting more useful? How have you seen your life change? Like you've increased the listing count quite a bit. What changes have you seen kind of downstream and positive wise, negative wise, anything like that?
Yeah, no, I think the first 3 years I was kind of in the weeds of things, trying to grow. And obviously in an urban market, I think it's a lot harder to, make the amount of money to be able to push those tasks off to someone. So, just was really driven off of virtual assistants and the systems that we had in place. And I think that's why we've had a lot of success in growing is, and I think that it was a good thing, in the first 3 years, we were just really strongly focused on the systems and processes and building that to where it needed to be, and then leveraging the tools that have been put in our toolbox over time of, PriceLabs and all these other different AI platforms. I'm a big believer of Streamline. Love Guesty too, by the way. They both offer something different. I know they're both trying to compete now, but and then, with that being said is, once we were able to scale, get those things obtained to where it needed to be is bringing on good team members. And having good team members that believe in the product, believe in the company, and then those partners will just kind of adjust with that trust and believe in what we're doing. And I think it goes back to what I talked about at the beginning is quality. So the more quality properties that we've been able to bring on, just less headaches, and those less headaches become, less money out of your pocket in all reality. And, more money out of your pocket is just, more problems. So I think just leveraging that, and our employees have stayed with us for 5 years. They haven't left anywhere. And if they have, it's just because it was time for them to go, right? And all thanks to our partners believing and trusting in what we've been able to do has just been a blessing.
Awesome, man. And that's a nice little segue for us to kind of get into the Q&A area. I did see something pop up in the chat where somebody asked for your contact information. So folks, if y'all want to, while I'm pulling up the Q&A, go ahead and let people know how they can reach out to you, learn about your property management company, and inquire if they want your property management services as well. And Ryan, you can go ahead and start.
What do they? I apologize. I
Oh,
guess.
just like any contact information you want to provide, whether it's email
Oh,
address, website, anything like that, so people can reach out to you.
yeah. I guess if I can comment in here, I'll do that too. But I guess if you guys are just listening in, it's gHluxproperties.com. So www.gHluxproperties.com. Again, my name's Ryan. My email is ryan@gHluxproperties.com.
Awesome. Yeah. If you ever need any assistance in Ohio or surrounding area, I'm not going to say you're getting outside of Ohio, but hey, you get the right
Not
opportunity
yet.
down in Kentucky and Indianapolis. Who knows?
Yeah,
Yeah.
not yet.
Eric's dropped his information in the chat as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go right ahead, Eric.
Yeah, our website is slvrst.com. So for all you military folks, Sierra Lima Victor Romeo Sierra Tango.com. That's our property management website. Our boutique hotel in Jacksonville, the Raven, is ravenjacks.com. So feel free to just shoot me a text or give me a call. I'm more than happy to talk to any folks about anything. I'm a short-term rental hospitality development like nerd, and I just love this stuff. And I just be careful. I could I might talk your ear off. So, hopefully you have a little bit of time because I love talking about this stuff and helping other folks out and just, because ultimately at the end of the day, rising tide lifts all boats. And, it's all about helping each other out and making sure we're all successful here.
I vibe with you on the geekiness side of revenue management. I love that stuff as well.
Yeah.
Got a couple of questions that I'm gonna feed to you guys. Now, they're not specific to Listing Optimizer, but I figure we've got some time. Let's talk booking windows. Let's talk differentiation, all that kind of stuff. So we're gonna start with Adrian. Hey, Adrian, how's it going, man? Booking window question. How do you guys balance using the market and property's historical booking window when setting your forward-looking pricing? And Ryan, if you want to take that one first, feel free. If not, we can slide it over to Eric.
Yeah, that's a great question. So they're asking booking window and how we're adjusting far out pricing, whether it's 30, 60, 90 days. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, it sounds like what he's asking is how do you balance what's changing in the market right now with what you've historically gotten? So let's say, Columbus, maybe the market's shifting to where the average booking window's gone down 5 days, but
Hmm.
your properties, because they're luxury, have always historically been 90, 120, 150 days. How
Hmm.
much do you weigh what's happening on the market side versus what's
What's
happening
that?
with your actual properties? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think Eric kind of talked about this a little bit. But I really, PriceLabs is a tool in the toolbox, right? So you still, from a revenue management standpoint, you have to know what's going on. I'm a firm believer that I think it's got to be someone that understands revenue management to be able to fully control and to have success out of it. So, I use, that what's in PriceLabs, our year-over-year growth. There's occupancy year-over-year growth. You can see what is booked now compared to what it was last year. So I take a lot of those variables and I see what's going on in the market, right? I'm not a political guy, so I'm not going to get into that at all. But I go look at what's going on, out in the world nowadays. What's coming up in the next month. So for instance, like last year in January was one of the worst months. This year we're doing $100,000 more because there's state tournaments coming to the convention center. There's all these different events that weren't happening last year, right? Arnold, if you guys all know about Arnold, one of the biggest lifting competitions I'm pretty sure the world comes to Columbus every single year. That fell into February last year. Now February is going to be our worst month, and March is going to be even better than last year because it falls into March. So it is important to understand what's coming and be able to adjust accordingly. Ohio State football, Ohio State football just came out. All these tools that we have aren't going to optimize your listing and pricing right away. Again, with football, I had to go in and make sure that I put in, 100% increase in the pricing or 50%, whatever it is. I'm making up something right now. So there is a lot more that goes into that. And I think Price Labs is there to optimize what you're looking for. And then there are some manual adjustments and things that you have to think about adjusting. Like we have group pricing and I have it, per bedroom, per market, per suburb. And everything is dynamic based off of that. And then it's adjustments every Monday, every quarter, every month, depending again, like you said, of what's going on in the market. So I know it's kind of like a little back and forth there of what I was. So hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't,
No, I absolutely did. Yeah, absolutely did. I'm gonna take this next question real quick, and it's from Miss Gonzalez, and that is the listing optimizer only evaluates Airbnb. What's going on with the other OTAs? And from PriceLab's perspective, a majority of the listings globally are going to be on Airbnb, whereas Booking.com still has plenty of them, but Airbnb has a majority of those. Long term, I would expect that other OTAs would be a part of this as well. But right now, what you can do is take that Airbnb listing, assuming that you're cross-listed, and apply whatever you're seeing from Airbnb to your booking.com, to your Verbo, to your direct website. Just because it's connecting to Airbnb, you will get the ranking stuff that's just for Airbnb, but all of the descriptions, everything else for you, that's going to be useful across the board. So now I'm going to switch up and let's go to Eric on this one. Got my guy Corey down in Florida, so got a little bit of a Florida connection here. But do you have
Mhm.
any strategies or insights for differentiating in very mature condo heavy markets, where there's a large number of just properties that are the exact same? You can't add a pool to a condo when it's got the shared pool. You can't add a jacuzzi out to the patio, things like that. And I'll get this from you, Eric, and then I'm going to come back to you, Ryan, on that one as well.
Yeah. So we speak this personally. We just launched a condo like you're mentioning in Nashville, which is a very mature market. It's a block or two from Broadway. There are all of these, short-term rental buildings there. I want to say dozens of them in that market. So very tough to differentiate. We also launched it, I want to say in November or December. So not the best time of the year, not when most folks are coming to Broadway to get their honky tonk on. And the question is, how do we stand out from literally in that building? There are dozens of STRs there that all have dozens of reviews. That all it's like, they're all cute. They all have, howdy on the wall, all that stuff. They got pink champagne glasses. So how do we differentiate that? So one of the ways that we do, especially when we're launching new properties in a crowded market, is interior design. We have an in-house interior designer who did the Raven, who's done almost a dozen properties for us. And the full disclosure is that she's also my mom. So she is absolutely amazing. So mom, if you're watching, thanks. She's kind of my secret weapon, and she is an amazing designer. And that's why, like at the Raven, guests are just, I've never seen the reviews that we've gotten there before because guests just adore it because her attention to detail is just like otherworldly. And so you can have a condo that's one of dozens, but if it looks amazing and you can tell that it's designed with care and everything's unique, your return on investment for good design is like 150 to 100% per year. It doesn't cost that much, right? Compared to other things. Like you talked about 20 to 30K to add in a golf simulator. My big thing is pillows on a bed, right? We cover our beds in pillows and a cute sham and nice bed covers, and they just look awesome. It looks amazing. It looks like in one of the interior design magazines that you have, and it's not that much. You buy 10 pillows for like $20 a pillow. It's funny because we had one guest ask us for our property at the Raven. They're like, "Oh my God, those pillows, they're so comfortable. I love them. Where did you get them?" We got them from Amazon. Like, I'm not even joking. They were like, really, really? I mean, they're comfortable. We spent like twice as much as the cheapest pillow you get on Amazon, but it feels nice. The sham is beautiful. The pillow, like we have one, this is, my mom is so amazing, but we have one apartment at the Raven called Ma Rainey. It's the Ma Rainey apartment. We have this really amazing wallpaper on one of the walls, and the pillows on the bed, they're covered in fabric that match the wallpaper. It's just like those little touches add so much, not only to getting the guest in the door, right? And we talked about this is getting to the book, but the other thing we didn't explicitly talk about yet, but we all know this is just as, if not more important, are the guest reviews, right? A, it's the number, is it 1 through 5 stars? But two is that gets you to, and we talked about conversions, right? So the number gets you the top of the queue. That gets to the guest clicks in your area, they find your listing. But once they find your listing, what do? They read the reviews and they look at the pictures. So those extra things, and you have a guest gushing about, oh my word, it was so cool. The interior design was otherworldly. We had a saxophonist playing in the lobby. We delivered pastries from a local bakery during our high occupancy days on the weekends. Like, and they're just gushing about this. And that is how you differentiate it. A, it's like I said, the interior design. And then also, like I didn't even mean to, but touched upon, it's little things, the service, right? It's getting those reviews that just guests just are amazed by their experience. That's how you capture, and you can frankly perform way above your competition in a very crowded, saturated market by good interior design and the little hospitality touches that set you well above and beyond your competition.
Awesome answer, Eric. Now we've got just another moment or two. Ryan, I do want your take on that. How
Yeah.
would you differentiate properties that are kind of the similar setup? One
Mhm.
apartment, can't do too much with it, so to speak.
Yeah, no, Eric and I think have the same idea and intentions here. It is all about interior design, whether it's a building or whether it's a single family or whether it's a duplex. Every single place has its own theme. Again, just to not like the distillery is the distillery, the Mulligan Manor is the Mulligan Manor, the Columbus Surfside Escape is the Surfside Escape. The Barrel House is the Barrel House. So they all have this intention to bring on someone different. So whether they are looking at a building of 12, they're walking into something that has a different feel and has a different intention than another one that's just, titled luxury 1 bedroom, has the white sheets, pillows on it, throw blanket, um, you know, wine glasses, stuff like that, right? And then the other thing is, like Eric said, is the service behind it. We believe in like the 3-step process. Can they find the parking? Can they find the front door? Can they check in? Does it smell clean, right? And then everything else comes upon it, right? So I think that that's really important, is how you can differentiate yourself. Is don't think about the saturation part. I firmly, and a lot of people are gonna think I'm an idiot for saying this. I don't think there is saturation to some degree. I think there's a saturation if all the units look the same, but I don't think there's saturation if you can really find how to differentiate yourself. And those people are going to win and stay on top. And I think that's why, someone like myself and Eric and probably a lot of you all is like that 5 year mark is the testing mark of whether you break or make.
Awesome. Now we've got two other questions. We're going to hit these and then we will call it a day. Stefan asked, does the new Airbnb fee structure have an impact on your bookings? I'll throw that out there. Absolutely does. Make sure everything's in line, make sure your listing's optimized, make sure your pricing's reflective of the market. But that new fee structure does have pretty significant change. If you have any questions about how to utilize PriceLabs with that, reach out to support at pricelabs.co. Did see a question come in the chat as well asking if anybody, if Ryan or Eric did revenue management assistance. More than welcome to reach out to them. You can also reach out to support at pricelabs.co. We have a revenue manager partner program that we're currently developing, so we can get you a list of people and let you choose, so to speak. The final question comes from Nikki Garcia, and that is, Verbo now allows a short video of the home. How effective is utilizing this for optimization? Ryan, Eric, if you'll take about 5-10 seconds each, and then we will call it quits after that. But how effective do you think using that video will be on Verbo?
I think it'll be effective. We don't use it yet, but it is something in 2026 that we are going to be, doing on our website and VRBO. And there's talk that Airbnb is going to be doing it as well. So yes, I think it's going to be very effective to get a better idea of what they're experiencing, right? And you can go another level with having people in it, sitting in the hot tub, playing in the pool, hitting a golf ball, than just going in and taking a video. So that would be my take on it.
Ooh, even given optimization tips right there. So
Yeah.
anybody that's sticking around, glad you got to hear that. What you got, Eric, on the quick
Yep.
side?
Yeah, we already kind of do this on social media, right? Where we do a reel on usually Instagram or one of our other pages. We'll walk through a property. We'll have the guest gift there. We'll have a little thank you note. We don't have people like, doing cannonballs into pools, but I like the idea. But yeah, I think it's, anything you can do, because at the end of the day, like probably 20% of people are going to do it. 80% are just not. And so if you can be that 20%, because it's not that hard, right? It takes a couple minutes. You do it for every property once and you're done. Then you are setting yourself again above your competition. And whether it's a saturated or a non-saturated market, that means more money for you as the homeowner.
Perfect. What I would say on that is there's always going to be a fine point where you are a part of what's happening and then where you're being left behind. So I'm going to say absolutely go for these videos when you get time. For a little while, it's going to be a differentiator. And as more people do it, if you're not doing it, you're getting left behind. So with that note, I really appreciate you guys. Eric, it's been fantastic. Ryan, thank you. Great to see you again. On behalf of Ryan and Eric, I'm Kyle with RevLabs by PriceLabs. Thank you much for joining us, and we will see you very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.